Okay, welcome everybody. I will take you through some very interesting things I've been noticing. Now, this particular video, courtesy of Finbear, well, I think I noticed it on his, might have been TikTok account or Shorts account. Anyway, have a look and listen to this. And this will set up the context of the video. Also the thumbnail if you catch it.
Training fleas requires a glass jar with a lid. The fleas are placed inside the jar and the lid is then sealed. They are left undisturbed for 3 days. Then, when the jar is opened, the fleas will not jump out. In fact, the fleas will never jump higher than the level set by the lid. Their behaviour is now set for the rest of their lives.
The behavior is now set for the rest of their lives. Check it out. Do you want to be these fleas?
And when these fleas reproduce, their offspring will automatically follow their example.
Maybe that's epigenetics in play. Who knows? It's a new study. How are you going to study life extension? How long does it have to take to study one's life? And how, what, 1,000 years? 10,000 years? Because think about it. Someone lives to 100, give or take, 10 or 20 years. That's a long ass study. So moving on quickly to the next section, we have this article here. Will interest rates go down in 2023? Not calling everyone a flea, not calling everyone a sheeple. But when you have articles like this, so someone's typing into Google or into whatever search engine they're looking for, trying to find will interest rates go down, and nothing against these particular creators, content producers, editors, the article explains what has happened in very simple terms. But not once do they say, did you know if interest rates are the same as the inflation rate, you'll stop the inflation. Maybe the inflation will start to go down. Instead, they state what it started at, 0.1, and now it's gone to insane levels of 2.5%. 2.5%? Wow. Now, for the interest rates, the highest interest rate that I can remember when financial things actually mattered, because you know when you're a kid you don't really notice, you know, interest rates and stuff, maybe cartoons are more interesting. I can remember, I think 8% it was on a term deposit, which is similar to a certificate of deposit here. Sorry, I got that mixed up. But then 8%. So if the inflation rate at that point in time was less than 8%, it would have been, you know, stopping the inflation. But not once do they explain that in here. It's fascinating to think that really well-educated people have no idea outside of their specific narrow band of understanding that they have. How many times have you maybe encountered someone who's extremely intelligent, but maybe they can't fit a tire? They could be like some insane doctor, but they can't do a basic thing because they haven't needed to. It's just one of those things I notice, and everyone gets funneled into the various aspects of life. And then you think about it, like the people that created university, did they go to university to design it, or did they actually create that? So this is why, like, I did study some finance, and the things that I would do, I would never advise anyone else to do. Hence my journey into cryptocurrency. Again, this is not financial advice, not legal advice. This is just for background, for context. I would basically say I've been bankrupt before, multiple times, but never had much money to begin with. So that's some background information I never told anyone online. So we see really large articles with content which is extremely dumbed down, extremely watered down. I can't help but think that's sort of the jar being put around us. I can't help but think people that enter into cryptocurrency think they're being different, when really they're just being put in the same jar as everyone else. That's why when Richard Hart came out and explained all the flaws about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, it really made me stop and think, oh wow, that was really interesting. Look it up. Oh wow, it's true. Makes you sort of want to escape the matrix, escape the jar, you know. Another good example of that, Crypto Coffee had a really good video. I thought it was very similar to the Mike Dice videos where he goes up to random people and just talks about topics. But this one, it was just like talking about topics, not sort of pretending to be one side when it's actually the other, like politically or intellectually. And you could see the people, some of them knew about cryptocurrency. They had sort of the same understanding, but they had no idea about the opportunities out there, like Hex, like Pulse Chain. We in our echo chamber understand this, but the people watching us from within the jar think we're insane. They're like, oh, you're just promoting your bag so you can pump more than you can dump on all of our heads. But if I don't know how to explain it. Do I bother? Do I really bother? I'm not even sure that it's going to get to the people that need to hear this, so I won't bother today. I'll move on to the next topic. I was having a chuckle reading the chat. I haven't responded yet into the chat because I haven't got the program that you can like pop up all the comments. So it may seem like I'm ignoring chat just for the moment, but eventually I'll get around to it. The next thing, yeah, geopolitical stuff, war. Another interesting thing that I've noticed, we're seeing all this stuff. You know, the NATO Russia drills, I can't even speak now. The NATO Russia nuclear war drills amid tensions over Ukraine. You know, we're seeing it across the board. Putin declares martial law in annexed areas. So? If you understand that speak, it's like they're annexing areas, but they don't even control the areas yet. So then what happens if their soldiers are retreating? What, they're going to say that's a declaration of war upon Russian territory? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. We see here Russia considering withdrawal of forces from the west of Dnipro River. Now again, I'm not sure where it is. This article does break it down briefly. I'm not going to play it. Basically, they're saying it's a key area held, train lines and supply lines for the Russians. So if they lose that, it becomes more difficult, you know. But again, my thoughts are the Russians are holding back. They're not leveling entire cities, and Ukraine's now been hit in the power plants, and they're having rolling blackouts. So it's going to become a lot harder if you're on the Ukrainian side to, you know, have hot water or have a hot shower or have, you know, if you've got no power, you can't have a fridge. You can't keep, you know, if you haven't got any storable food, clean water, things like that. It's going to make it very hard for them. Now we have here, that's the same sort of thing. NATO and Russia run nuclear. Yeah, so it's a real good idea to let's put our nuclear forces and let's pit them against each other in a close proximity during a time of ongoing conflict. Yeah, real good, real good. This is the funny thing though. We have throughout history, or the thing I can think of, I don't know if you remember the Foo Fighters, they were seeing the little glowing orbs, and both sides thought that maybe there was some secret technology that the other side had, but yet no one actually knows what they were, but they were well documented and later on was released to the public. So this is kind of along that lines. Again, my analysis, crazy Lundberg conspiracy theory analysis, so up to you whether you even take a look into it. But we've got here dramatic videos of UFOs covering the Pacific around August and September. So I sometimes wonder if we're actually being watched by other, alien civilizations or species, or like, yeah, what is it? I don't know. But during times of mass conflict, for UFO sightings to be quite out in the open is something a little bit different, you know. Don't know. I've seen this one episode, and I don't know if you UFO people out there have seen it. It was near a launch site, and they were launching missiles or some shit. And then one of them came back and said, "Hey, what's up in there?" Yeah, I was just saying I haven't got the program yet, just to highlight the comments, so I'll just be skipping over them for now. I'll get to it. But where was I? Yeah, there was a kind of like a documentary, and they were launching these like missiles, and this bloody thing comes in, and the footage shows it. It looked like it was, I don't know, messing around with the missile, and then it stopped, disabled all of them. They said the commander came in there and he's like, what were you guys doing? Were you messing around? Was that you? And he shows them this footage, and they couldn't see it because they'd launched the bloody things. They're, you know, miles and miles or K's and K's away. He shows them this footage, and everyone's like, yeah, we have no idea what that was. So it makes you wonder, you know, like maybe you see all this troop movement, then at the same time, UFO sightings are all of a sudden on the rise. I don't know, man. Maybe they're correlated. I think, though, as we as humans all need to get together, and assuming you want peace, maybe sort of, I don't know, similar to prayer, that try and bring forward that feeling of peace, you know. I've watched this guy, Brayden. He talks about the power of prayer. I'm not sure if he's actually religious or not, but he's an interesting one. Listen to his stuff, and he goes into China, has documentaries about how there's 3, they call them healers, are able to basically shrink a tumor in real time by basically chanting something and, I guess, put forwarding their emotions into the world. It's kind of crazy. I've never seen it firsthand, but I do like to think about that sort of stuff. Again, that would put me well outside the flea jar. Yeah, the thumbnail. At the beginning of the video, I played back this video too, because I thought it was a very good intro, you know, get the mind ticking in that sort of area. Now, skipping forward, basically, this is why I can see regulation being brought in, maybe for larger players, but I don't know how to explain it. Over here in Australia, there's like ASIC, it's called ASIC. It basically regulates, provides laws. There's various laws, consumer law, and they basically try and protect every investors from things that could be a scam, basically, because they have like rules and regulations. It's like, well, if you invest in this bank and there's no verification of its balance or anything like that, there's a chance that you know, you'll lose all your money, so we can't recommend that you do this. And they might put halts on particular funds that are doing that, because how do you know these people aren't laundering money, using it in literal criminal ways, because it is against the law. So I think this says there's 3 funds over here. I don't know how they were doing it, if they were just straight up purchasing cryptocurrency, or they were saying they were purchasing cryptocurrency, or whether it was the way that they were, I guess, soliciting to their investors, like what they were doing. Basically, ASIC came out and said, stop, don't do that. So this is why I can see when regulation is like brought about, if it's brought about in a way that doesn't stifle innovation heavily, like doesn't crush the small investor, like maybe you or I, or anyone else watching this stream, if they can fine tune that and maybe have, it's hard though. It's almost like saying, oh yeah, regulation's a good thing, but I don't think it is. But in this case, if they had existing laws whereby the normal investor can carry on business as usual, obviously they have their own, have to do the research, taxes, laws, everything else like that. You could borderline call it gambling, you know. But then if they had regulation which allowed these funds to operate and function, then maybe you might see larger influx, because larger funds can onboard more and they can accept the risk, and then they can, you know, literally pump everyone's bags, pump their own bags. But I'm not sure how they're going to do that. It's very vague at the moment. I might close this one off very quickly. I'll quickly read chapter 3, because then I think Senzoof is streaming. I don't want to overlap. But before I do read chapter 3 of Spars, basically, I can see the comments. Basically, do you remember when Richard Hart talked about the chilling effect? If you want to look up where and how that was brought about, the first time I ever heard about the chilling effect was through Judge Napolitano. Basically, he knows his shit. This article here, this little video clip, Jones killed no one, pays millions. Bush killed millions, pays no one. This may be worth a watch. Yeah, again, you maybe want to look into Judge Napolitano stuff. And look up the chilling effect. He basically explains what it is. It's very disturbing to see it play out in real time. Because, unless you're a tyrannical government, if you're a tyrannical government, go ahead. Chilling effect all the way. Now, I'll leave this one up here, and basically, so chapter 3 from the Spars. There we go. Now, I'm sure everyone knows about this one, yeah? A potential vaccine, chapter 3. This has like a sort of a release, that would be a mock release, a training drill. And it's got a company, GMI. It's a memorandum of release. Two fictitious people, Greta Smithson, Vice President for Animal Health, from Dr. Marcus Thompson, Director, Vaccination Research Branch. Again, all fictitious people here. RE, Hooved Mammal Respiratory Virus Vaccine number 14, HMRV-VAC14, use in human populations. Date 30th of December 2025. Now, we've got attachments 1, HMRV-VAC14, efficacy and side effects. 2, Hooved Mammal Respiratory Coronavirus Outbreak Model, estimates 2021. Problem background. Your office requested information regarding any previous SPARS-like illnesses in GMI animal populations and potential immunization or treatment implications for the ongoing SPARS pandemic. Summary 2021. A coronavirus caused an outbreak in Region 7, Southeast Asia. I like how they call them Region 7. Hooved mammal populations. Our researchers developed and produced in-house an effective vaccine against the infection HMRV-VAC14. Its subsequent approval and use successfully ended the outbreak in the region, while largely effective in preventing infection. Severe side effects, including swollen legs, severe joint pain, and encephalitis, potentially resulting in seizures, seizure disorders, or death, occasionally occurred. Attachment 1. In this example, given the millions of vaccinations required for Region 7, this resulted in measurable losses to the animal population. However, these were acceptable compared to those from the respiratory infection itself. Attachment 2. Each of the severe side effects was accompanied by a physical presentation such that the affected animal was removed from the population and culled to prevent processing affected animals for sale. It is unknown at this time how similar the two coronaviruses are, or whether HMRV-VAC14 or a similar vaccine would be effective in human populations due to its development for internal use only. HMRV-VAC14 has not been tested or authorized by any governing agency for use in animals or humans. So this is chapter 3. Remember, a potential vaccine. This is a memorandum, a release, in this example. Now we have shortly, after authorizing expanded access to the Calocivir for selected patients, the FDA received reports of an animal vaccine deployment by GMI, a multinational livestock conglomerate operating cattle and pig farms, among other places, in Southeast Asia. Since 2021, ranchers had been using the vaccine to prevent a SPARS-like respiratory coronavirus disease in cows and pigs in the Philippines and other Southeast Asian countries. Data provided by GMI suggested that the vaccine was effective at preventing SPARS-like illnesses in cows, pigs, and other hoofed animals, but internal trials revealed several worrisome side effects, including swollen legs, severe joint pain, and encephalitis, leading to seizures or death. No biggie, just take the jab and die in this example. But because any animals experiencing these side effects were immediately killed, and because animals were typically slaughtered within a year of vaccination, further information regarding the short and long-term effects of the GMI vaccine was unavailable. Yeah, go figure. Lacking a viable alternate, and considering the potentially high morbidity and mortality associated with SPARS, at the time the case fatality rate was still considered to be 4.7%, which they got wrong in this particular case. The United States government contacted GMI in regards to the vaccine. After laboratory tests confirmed that the coronavirus affecting livestock in Southeast Asia was closely related to the SPARS-CoV, the US began extensive review of the animal's vaccine development and testing processes. Shortly thereafter, federal health authorities awarded a contract to SynBio, a US-based pharmaceutical, to develop a SPARS vaccine based on the GM model. Literally sheeple. Anyway, the contract included requirements for safety testing, ensuring the vaccine would be safe and effective for human use. It also provided considerable funding from the National Institutes of Health, NIH, and included provisions for priority review by the FDA. Additionally, HHS Security NATO agreed in principle to invoke the Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act, PrEP Act, thereby providing liability protection for SynBio and future vaccine providers in the event that the vaccine recipients experience any adverse effects, like the yeah, exactly. Exactly. Sound the good old liability protection. It's in the name of science. Who cares about testing? Now, again, chapter 3, it's literally an exercise. It's like a drill. It is you probably can't see it too good. Yeah. And it's all about the communication dilemma. Maintaining trust in government processes for ensuring the timely development of safe and effective vaccines when novel threats arise. Now, this is the communication dilemma governments would face. They're saying, food for thought. How might federal health authorities avoid people possibly seeing an expiated SPARS vaccine development and testing processes as somehow rushed and inherently flawed, even though that process still meets the same safety and efficacy standards as any other vaccine? Wow, did it though? How might federal health authorities respond to critics who propose that liability protection for SPARS vaccine manufacturers jeopardize individual freedoms and well-being? I'll repeat that one. How might federal health authorities respond to critics who propose that liability protection for SPARS vaccine manufacturers jeopardize individual freedom and well-being? See, they've been maybe based on this textbook, they've been thinking through lots of different scenarios. And the third food for thought section. Once the vaccine becomes relatively broadly available, see the chapter of Head of the Line Privileges. How might public health communicators implement the best practices principle of enabling people to make their own informed decisions about whether to accept the novel SPARS vaccine? And this is the fourth and final one. What are the potential consequences of health officials over reassuring the public about the potential risks of a novel SPARS vaccine when long-term health effects are not yet known? So we've got to figure out a way to address all of those questions. Wow. It's almost like a playbook for what took place. It's crazy. All right, I'm going to jump out And yeah, I'm gonna go check out Senvu stuff. Alright, signing out all.